Welcome back to Free to Be, guys. And this week we're going to continue the list of 20 things that an older financial advisor wishes he could tell the younger version of himself. So let's get started. Now, as always, if you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit the subscribe button down below and turn on those notifications because we talk about all things financial literacy on this channel and you're not going to want to miss it. And if you're joining us again, thanks for coming back. Okay, so last week we talked about kind of the first 5 things that this person mentions in his article that he kind of wishes he could go back and tell his younger self. This week we're going to go into the next 5 things. So without further ado, let's get right into it. So the next thing on this guy's list is to be obsessed with growth. Now, I could not agree with this more. It is really important to be in charge of your growth, to want to keep growing in your career, in your financial position, because once you stop, once you don't care about where you're going and what you're doing here, that's when it kind of all falls apart for you. Be invested in it, be obsessed with it, kind of understand where you want to be and work towards that goal. Be oriented, be goal oriented in that regard. And so what this one involves is just being obsessed with learning, experiencing, getting out there and just really understanding the world. And that's really the only way we grow as people, whether it's creatively or within our careers. You have to just be obsessed with your growth. That's the only way we're going to get to where we want to be. And that's ultimately the only way we'll ever feel fulfilled in our lives. All right, so the next thing after that is to kind of start getting in the habit of saving and investing. And this is one of those things that's so hard to do when you're young and just starting out, because you might not necessarily have enough. But really what this comes down to is building habits. And I do agree with this one as well, because look, you have to get in the habit of putting $1 a week away in savings or $5 in investing, because if you don't get into this habit, it's just going to keep being something that you delay and just going forward and you're like, okay, when I make X amount of more dollars, I'll start saving a little bit more. If you don't get into the habit early, you're never going to do it. So definitely start saving, whether it's a couple dollars a week, $25 a month, whatever it may be. Just get in the habit of doing it, okay? Put it aside. Don't think about it. Start young. It'll really help you out as you continue to grow and as your earning potential continues to increase. It will. Look, it seems a little bleak when you're younger and you're making, minimum wage, but if you really try and if you really pursue your opportunities to the fullest, you'll make more money as you grow up, as you get older. So start these habits early. Start these money habits, saving, investing young, and it will pay off way into the future for you. All right, so the next one is kind of controversial, and I'm gonna say right now that I don't agree with this, but this guy outlines in his article to not go into any debt for school. Now, yes, I understand that this is coming from someone who's been a financial advisor for 25 plus years, who probably went to school, 25 plus years ago. It doesn't really make sense in our world today. Now, while I agree that you shouldn't necessarily make bad decisions when it comes to identifying the type of school you want to go to, or just understanding how much that cost is going to impact you going down, and you should definitely take all that into consideration, I think it's just impossible, given the increase of education costs, to go into education without any debt. It's just really unlikely in our world today. Again, back in the day, I'm sure you could get a job while you were going to school and pay the tuition, because the tuition was way less than it is today. And I think I read somewhere else where just in the past 10 years, the cost of tuition in most of these institutions has gone up over 50%, while the cost of, the wages have only gone up 3% in that same period of time, and that's adjusted for inflation, which is crazy. So there's ways to do this, in a cost-effective manner. While it is very unlikely to not have any kind of student loan debt, in today's world, you have to understand that having a college degree is similar to having a high school degree 25 years ago. So maybe what you can do is focus on making that cost as low as possible, so that if you are going to pursue postgraduate, graduate type work, then you can focus your money and energy on that instead of all on undergrad, on undergrad education. So if it involves you going to a 2-year institution first, 2-year community school, and then transferring to a 4-year college and getting your degree that way, if that's a cost-effective way, you should do that. You should focus on maybe your surrounding, opportunity in terms of education. If you have in-state schools that provide much lower in-state tuition, you should obviously consider that as well. Now, if you're in a position where you can get into a really good school that's going to give you way better opportunities, but it's a private school, don't just bail on it because it's going to cost some more money, but you should take all those into consideration. Take all the factors into making a decision that's best for you. I don't think that it's realistic in this world that we live in today to go to school and get an education without taking on debt. I just don't think that's a realistic thing. All right, so the next thing after that is to forget about balance. And what he means by this is to just focus your energy on one thing. When you're worried about balance, you're basically only giving a little bit of attention to the few things that are in your purview, and that's not how you're really going to excel at anything. So I know I've encountered this a lot myself, where I see someone who's younger who's all about the work-life balance, and that's understandable, but that's not the time for that. I think the best time to grind, the best time to kind of excel your career, to put yourself in a position to do better later on, is when you're young. So I do agree with this whole notion of focus your energy on one thing, become really good at that one thing, and then you'll be able to balance going forward. So, if it's your job, if your job involves creating, if your job involves whatever it involves, really, focus your energy on it, focus on building that career, and then great things will come to you, and you can then go ahead and focus on other things. This whole we can all multitask thing is it's just not true. I think there was another thing that I read somewhere where only 4% of people who think they can multitask can actually effectively multitask. The rest of us really do give this half-hearted effort to each thing that we're undertaking at the same time. So it's really important to just focus on one thing and move forward with that, doing that one thing well. All right, and the next thing is something that I've actually talked about in a few of my videos already, and that's to keep your expenses low. Keep your monthly overhead low. Think of yourself as a business, right? And you're a business that generates X amount of dollars a month. Now, you're gonna wanna make sure that the money going out is as low as it can be, right? Your expenses, your monthly expenses are as low as they can be so that your bottom line, your profits are as high as they can be, right? If a company has 12 employees and they really could get by with 6, the extra 6 is basically just overage of overhead that's eating into your profits. So you're gonna wanna approach it the same way. Don't take on recurring payments if you don't have to. If you don't need a car, don't go buy a car right away just because you can make the payments. Use that money in some other fashion, and then when you need the car, go buy the car. So it's all about keeping your expenses as low as you can for as long as you can so that you can start funneling in your profits into long-term investments, into some savings, and kind of approach your life that way. This is true whether you're younger or older. Always try to keep your monthly expenses as low as possible, because this will also come into play should something dramatic or something really, unforeseen happen in your life and you need to kind of be living on a fixed income. If your expenses are, much lower than they, currently are, or that they can, as low as they can be, you'll be in a way better position in a scenario where that is the case. All right, guys, well, that's it for this week. Again, I'll be talking about the remaining items on this guy's list in upcoming videos. So if you haven't done it already, make sure you subscribe and turn on those notifications. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button. Let me know in the comments down below what you guys think about the items we've discussed so far, and we'll see you next time.